So we are here to go over 5 in 50 and a little teaser. We're going to have more than 5 just strict resources here from our financial algebra course. So I'm really excited to share this new course with you from NGPF. Just a little disclaimer that this session is not constitute financial advice. It's for educational materials. My name is Dan Rolando, one of the curriculum designers here with NGPF and one of the folks who put together this math curriculum over the past year and a half. So we just finished, completed this new financial algebra course in September of this past year. So we've been building out over the last year and a half. And in today's session, we're going to kind of get an overview of the course, look at a unit plan. We're going to examine representative personal finance and math activities. We're going to see some Desmos activities specifically and how those work. And then we're going to have some time to explore and then share and collaborate on how you might use these resources in your own classrooms. So I have shared the Nearpod. We have a Nearpod link, so you're not just going to look at me talk or look at a slideshow that you're just going to view. I'm going to get you engaged. We're going to be active in this. So if you're unfamiliar with Nearpod, it's basically an interactive slide presentation feature. So go ahead and check your Zoom chat. I've got that Nearpod join link in there, so you'll be able to see what I am sharing about. A little overview of the financial algebra course. We've got a financial algebra, course page on our NGPF math website. So we have just recently expanded a lot of our math materials, so much so that on ngpf.org, if you go to the top of that page, you'll see a big orange button that says math. If you click on that, it's going to take you to kind of this home base for all of our math related activities. And so that's going to be kind of a great place to bookmark. The financial algebra course page has a big blue button, easy to find. That's going to be kind of your go-to for this financial algebra course. A little bit about why we built the course. We designed it to really weave together math and personal finance in a way that is relevant and makes sense for, the majority of people. So, not just a math textbook with some problems that have dollar signs, right? And also not just, personal finance materials with kind of a math appendix of here's some math skills you might use, but really woven together in a way that is going to be how you would naturally encounter those materials. It's designed as roughly a semester-long course, but a lot of teachers find it very easy to expand the materials, go a little bit slower, especially with math. That is going to depend on, the level of the students that you're teaching and how much, math you might need to backfill or, pacing wise for your students. It's designed to be really accessible with kind of an Algebra 1 level entry point. So any student who has kind of seen the basics of Algebra 1 should be able to access the math. That said, we do teach the math skills necessary for the course along the way of the course. And hopefully the idea is that this is going to answer the question, when am I ever going to use this? Which if you've taught, especially if you've taught math, you've definitely gotten that question from your students. All right. So here's a little overview of the course. This is our little course one pager. Just want to give you a sense of kind of the scope and sequence of the course. So again, you'll find that in Nearpod, the link to which you can find in your Zoom chat. But we start off, each unit has a personal finance topic as well as a paired core math competency. And so there is an element of kind of spiral review throughout the course. So anything in a previous unit may come up or be built upon in a later unit. That said, we tried to not make it too linear and sequential so that you could, if you wanted to just grab a unit on systems of inequalities, throw it into, your math course, you wouldn't necessarily be at a total loss of, oh, I didn't do the previous 4 units. So there is some element of, kind of grab and go a la carte for that. So we cover everything: fundamentals of algebra, linear equations, systems of equations, systems of inequalities, exponential functions, kind of modeling functions in different ways from word problems. And then we take a look at some statistics, analyzing statistics, and probability. So those are the kind of the core math pieces that we cover. You'll notice it doesn't cover everything in an Algebra 1 or an Algebra 2 course. There's just not a robust application set for factoring equations, say, in the real financial world. That said, it's easy to kind of weave in your own math learning throughout the course. All of our material is completely customizable to your own class. So you can grab it as a Google Docs. You can add problems, delete problems, switch up the order, just grab one lesson, grab a whole unit. We really try to make it as easy as possible for you to use whatever part is useful for you. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here is a unit plan. So I want to give you just a minute to look over. This is an example unit plan for Unit 6. Investing strategies and exponential functions. So take a minute, just look over kind of what you'll find in a unit plan, and then I'm going to point out a few highlights that this could be useful for. All right, so you'll get a sense of kind of how we've built out an example unit here. A few things I want to point out. One, in that gray box at the top, you might have skipped over it. Students often, skip directions. We might see something we recognize and skip over it, but I want to draw your eyes back because if you're not familiar with Quizlet, that is a vocabulary practice online activity. And we have a Quizlet for each unit in this financial algebra course. There's a couple we're still building out. We actually didn't start with unique Quizlets because we have Quizlets already for all of our personal finance units on ngpf.org under unit reviews. But a lot of teachers, kind of said, hey, we'd love to have one specific to this course, especially to include all those math terms. And so teachers asked, we listen. That's one thing about NGPF. And so we have started adding those Quizlets, and you'll find all of the relevant personal finance vocabulary as well as any relevant math vocabulary for this unit. And that's right up there on the unit plan in the top of that gray box. And then you'll see each of the lessons has their lesson number, their title, kind of the topic they're covering, and then a little subtitle of whether it's personal finance or math. And I mentioned before about blending and weaving together the finance. So this might seem contrary, but that's just going to tell you what kind of the primary learning objective is for the lesson, because the way that you approach personal finance concepts versus a concrete math skill has a little different pedagogy. So the lessons are going to be structured just a little differently. That said, every single lesson is going to have personal finance aspects to it, personal finance learnings, as well as that context. And then even those finance lessons are still going to have an explicit math connection. So it's going to have a specific way to bring out the math in that personal finance concept. Right. And so you'll notice there's roughly an even balance of math and personal finance throughout the lesson. You'll also see that each lesson has objectives as well as relations to both National Personal Finance Standards and Common Core math standards. One caveat, I apologize, the Common Core math website is down. They do know, we let them know. And so the links may or may not, just clicking on one. Yeah, it looks like their webpage is still currently down on those specific standards. So you'll have to reference their PDF version for now. If they don't get that fixed though, we're gonna make sure to get those included on there. So that's a unit plan. Any quick questions on the overall unit plan? I know that's not the most exciting thing. So let's go ahead and dive into an example of one of the resources and for finance lessons here. So our personal finance lessons, the format is going to be some sort of interactivity, then a suite of personal finance resources that we have gathered and curated for you. And then I mentioned that explicit math connection. All of the finance-oriented lessons are also going to finish with a 3-question exit ticket. So I want to do one little activity here based on this video. So we're going to watch this video and then I'm going to show you the activity. Oh, good. The Quizlet link worked. Thank you. So we're going to watch a video of a number of men from ages up to 70, I think 5 to 70 or 5 to 75, telling you what they're saving for. And as they kind of share their opinions, I want you to think about the question, what are you saving for? Or what could you be saving for? So I'm going to go ahead and share this. It should go ahead and play on your device. So watch it on your device and then let me know in the chat when you are finished. All right, so not sure if folks are finished. Don't see any There we go. Looking for that heads up in the chat. Perfect. Good timing there. So that's just, kind of a cute little intro way to think about saving. And I'm sharing with you now the student activity packet for this, the lesson that video comes from in our curriculum. So this is unit 3, lesson 3.1 on why save. So kind of establishing why you save. And you'll see, I'll give you a kind of a minute to look at this, but you'll see the intro activity that I was going to have us go through, but we're just a little short on time, that it has students kind of reflect on their own savings goals, kind of generate what savings goals might they have. Then they'll watch this video, kind of reflect on it and say, how do they view their own savings goals differently? Do they have anything they want to change? Kind of how has it changed how they look at their own savings goals? So it's a great way to kind of make it personal for the students, see kind of how it impacts others, and then bring it back to their own practice. So I want to give you just another minute to kind of skim over the structure of this lesson, just kind of see how it flows. It goes activity into another video. We are going to have time to dive into some lessons a bit later. I do want to make sure you have some time to explore. But you'll see that if you're familiar with NGPF resources at all, you'll notice that there is a difference in this course and our regular personal finance offering. So a lot of that core finance material is going to be the same, but for lack of a better word, all of these lessons are going to be a little bit mathier. So even though this is a personal finance lesson, you're going to see a lot of graphs, analyzing graphs, asking about some percentages. So it's really kind of bringing it to the level of being a rigorous math course, so something that can be offered in your math department without seeming like kind of like a fake math course. And then I want to direct you down to that math connection. So the math connection for this lesson is on linear equations. So you'll see, even though this is on the systems of equations unit, kind of have this little spiral review of, hey, let's make sure we understand those linear equations before we jump into some systems. So you'll see a little activity on calculating over time. They have a graph. They add to that graph. They come up with an equation from a real world problem. And you'll notice that in problem 2C, there's an option to do this activity as a Desmos activity. And that's something that I'm going to show you a little bit later, how we've brought Desmos into our curriculum. All right, so that is kind of an example personal finance lesson. You'll see that even though the focus was on that learning of why to save, there's plenty of math practice within it. Next thing I want to show you are our application resources. So our math lessons are structured just a little differently. Instead of kind of having resources and then a math connection, they're going to have kind of this alternating learn it and practice it section for the bulk of the lesson, where they're going to learn some concrete skill and then have an opportunity to put it into practice right away. And then instead of exit tickets, they actually finish with full application problem documents. And what those are totally different documents. So a whole set of problems with 3 different levels of difficulty. So it's kind of like 3 problem sets for every single math lesson, where you got kind of a level 1, level 2, level 3, designed to be an increasing level of difficulty from just kind of applying the basic skills in a finance context to maybe extending or synthesizing the skills that were learned, or bringing in multiple previous learning. So it's a great way to differentiate your instruction. It's a great way to opportunity to bring into just a pure math class as well, just having some of these application problems based on whatever math learning, kind of you're doing at the time. And so here is an example of one of those application problem documents. And so I want to give you just a couple minutes to look over this application problem document, kind of skim the different levels, see the depth of questions that are asked. Again, this is on lesson 3.2. So that's kind of the next math lesson in the unit. But take a couple minutes and then I'm going to ask you a little open-ended feedback about those application questions. All right, so we can go ahead and instead of typing these, I know it takes a little longer, but since we're short on time, just go ahead and feel free to unmute, ask your question, or answer one of these questions. But what kind of stands out to you about these this math lesson, this math application document, and or what question do you still have? So I see one in the chat about answering the card sort in the match. So yes, the card sort is designed as a Desmos optional activity. So you can do the card sort in Desmos, or you can print the worksheet style and they can physically, cut and match the cards in that particular card sort activity.
What stood out to me was the ability to scaffold the lesson to your student, right? Like being able to give them, maybe they could do this one out of level 1, but then you could give them maybe 1 or 2 out of level 2 or 3 to build that skill a little bit more.
Yeah, that's actually feedback that we've gotten from teachers already, that the students really love kind of some of that student choice when that's offered, and being able to say, do up to what level you do, what level you feel you can do, or some teachers will do the level 1 together in class and then assign level 2 as homework, and then level 3 is there, if students want to test themselves or challenge themselves. So there's a lot of opportunity for that differentiation you mentioned, and kind of some student choice as well in kind of how they get those problems done. I just want to show you real briefly here the math lesson that this came from. So you'll see kind of in this lesson, the teaching on systems of equations, kind of that basic vocabulary, how they do the graphing, a couple example problems. But then the practice it section is another example of that student choice element, where this is a kind of repeated structure we have called 5-point practice, where students have to do problems to get to 5 points. So if they do 3 of the easy problems, that's only going to get them 1 point each. So they have to do at least 1 of the medium level problems. And so students can, do more challenging ones. They can do all of the simple basic level and then maybe 1 of the medium. But again, it's that element of being able to differentiate as well as providing student choice. All right. So I just want to, we've got, what do we have? 13 minutes left. Perfect. So I want to show you a Desmos activity and then give you a chance to explore a little bit. So Desmos, if you are unfamiliar, it's an online tool. It has a really, really powerful and aesthetically smooth graphing calculator. That's kind of the core tool. But you'll see on the left a lot of different tools calculator tools. It's built out from that. But on top of that, they have this layer of interactive activities that you can build that leverages all of those skills of the graphing calculator. Just like NGPF resources, Desmos is customizable and free. So you can sign up for a free teacher account and get access to all of their free activities. They are rolling out kind of like a paid curriculum piece as well, but there's a huge library of pre-existing free activities. All of NGPF's activities that we have created are there in the Desmos library, completely open and free. So I'm going to show you kind of where to find those, what that looks like here in a second. But we have over 40 custom activities just for our financial algebra course alone. And they're kind of organized in the collection by unit. So I'm going to do a quick screen share and show you how to get to this activity. And then I'm going to show you this activity. But if you want to follow along on your own or just kind of view that on your own screen, let me make sure that good. It is allowing me to screen share. That is good. So let's see here.
Do you happen to know the capability of Desmos with Canvas?
I am pretty sure that it has integrations. I can, if you remind me. That's not the screen I wanted to share. It's not sharing the right screen. It's as you guys explore a little bit later, remind me in the chat and I will share a link to their integrations page. If I can grab that. So screen share. There we go. All right, there we go. Are you seeing this Desmos activity? All right. So
yes.
Before that, I want to just show you a quick how to get there from the ngpf.org website. I mentioned that big orange button for math. So you just go to that top nav bar for NGPF math. And this is where you're going to find financial algebra course. You can find single activities, any further PDs, or you can go to this Desmos classroom activities page here. And so the one that we're going to look at is going to be the impact of investing fees. And that's going to be in lesson 6.1. So the impact of investing fees on exponential growth. So you can grab that there from the website. You can also, once you are here in Desmos, if you've got an account, you can click on these 3 bars and you can add the activity to your collection. So you can kind of bookmark that activity or bookmark the whole collection here. So if I just go to the NGPF Financial Algebra collection, you can bookmark that whole collection, add it to new collections, or just bookmark it on your favorites. So you can navigate it in Desmos if you're familiar with that environment, or find it direct from the NGPF website if you're just looking for one-off Desmos activities. So the way that you preview these, if you're not familiar, you go to this blue student preview button. That's going to get you kind of what the activity looks like. And this one is really really neat because it's just looking at kind of investing fees, which is an important aspect of investing. But this activity really shows you how that works. So you'll see this is, you can predict what the equation is. So I can say it's 1,000 plus 7x. Can check my equation. Oh no, I got it wrong. And so this is a great way that Desmos offers repeated, checks for understanding. And if you have a class and you have a teacher account, you can actually see how students, how many times they've missed it. So you can find sticking points as they go through it in real time. The thing I want to point out, though, is some of these really neat graphing features. So here's the graph for the predicted investment value. And then now, if you click on this, it has this really very visible what the effect of fees are over this 20-year investing time horizon. And that's just with a 1.25% fee. So you can look at a lower fee amount and say, how is that going to impact everything? Right. So this is a really dynamic way to go through some of these financial concepts, but with the math skills that are really, really relevant. So here's another cool piece about kind of animating the difference in fees over these different accounts. So these Desmos activities are a real gem in the financial algebra curriculum. And so as you're looking through lessons, I just wanted to point out some of those that are there so you know how to explore them. All right. Any questions about Desmos and kind of what it is, how we've used it? Feel free to put those in the chat as well. All right. Well, I want to give you a solid, what do we have? We've got 7 minutes left. So I want to give you at least 4 or 5 minutes to find a lesson that you might want to use. So you're obviously not gonna be able to dive through all of it, but go ahead, open up the financial algebra course page and kind of look at a lesson or even just one activity from one of the lessons or units and kind of think about how you might use that. I would encourage you, look for one that you're currently, maybe a unit you're currently teaching, a unit you're currently planning for, or a unit that you have historically found difficult to kind of engage students with. Those would be my 3 suggestions of kind of what to prioritize in this time. So I want to give you about 4 minutes, and we'll come back together real quick at the end of the session to share.
Now, on your website, you have both the algebra personal finance, but then do you also have a personal finance that's more on the social studies side?
Yeah. So we kind of our bulk of our resources are in, just pure personal finance resources. This is kind of an outgrowth of that. So it really brings the quality personal finance integrations that we just have an expertise in. But then the 4 math teachers that were actually brought on specifically to design this financial algebra course and kind of make it, up to mathematical rigor. So the financial algebra is it's going to cover a lot of those same materials, but you're going to find even more resources on the regular side of our website. So just ngpf.org.
Okay. Yeah, no, this was, when I saw this on the list, this was like the answer to what we were looking for
Yeah, that's
curriculum
awesome.
review, because we obviously have personal finance, but like it didn't have a lot of math in it. It's a lot of spreadsheets. It's a lot of other things doing the math part. So when I took it to the math teachers, I was like, well, how do we make this more math?
Yeah,
so
yeah. And that's there's a lot of those kind of resources out there. And so we wanted to kind of fill that gap with what we weren't finding out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Janie shared the kind of attendance tracker session survey. We have just a short, if you want to kind of hear more from us, follow up, get, an initial email just about where to go in terms of finding some things out with NGPF, feel free. It's just it's a short 2-question survey. But it's mostly, if you want to share your email, we'll be happy to kind of follow up with you and get you where you need to go, pointed in the right direction for NGPF resources. We've got a few more sessions today. So hopefully all of the logistical kinks will be worked out. This was the only math one. But if you show up to any of the other sessions and, want to get some info on the math, please provide your email and we'll get that back to the right people. I'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Dan, so I think that's part of the problem because I'm not Janie. I'm logged in as Janie.
Right.
She gave me her, I'm Emily. So
Emily,
she
right?
gave
Yeah.
me her login. And so when I logged in, her login and password, I was in a totally separate room and I said, Janie, where is everyone?
Gotcha.
So every time I'm posting, it's looking like I'm Janie, but thank you, Dan, for your time. I'm sorry it was consolidated. Go ahead and fill out the survey and the attendance. And then I know that Dan's expertise, if you have more questions, because some of his time was consolidated, you can follow up on that. Your next session is 10:20. So you have about 5 minutes. I'm going to stop the recording. And I know Dan, he just put his email. And Dan, you're also staying for the next session with a different class,
yep,
right?
I'll be in this.
he'll
I'll be
be
in the
here?
same room, but
Perfect.
we're gonna talk about career resources.
Okay, so if anyone has questions about the survey or the attendance, the survey, that's for Dan. One that Dan put, that's for Dan.
Yeah, that's just if you want to share your email and get some more info about NGPF is the more from NGPF. Quick Google.
But you do need to do the attendance for all 6 sessions. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording. If you have any questions, go ahead and stay on. Otherwise, when you're finished with your survey and your attendance, you can get ready for your 10:20 session.